with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu by his side there at the White House. President Trump unveiled a detailed 20-point plan to try to end the nearly 2-year-old war in Gaza. Now, that plan calls for an immediate ceasefire, with Israel withdrawing to allow hostages to be returned within 72 hours of the acceptance of the plan by all sides. Hundreds of detained Gazans, including women and children, would also be released alongside prisoners who were serving life sentences. Hamas members who commit to peaceful coexistence, they'd get amnesty or safe passage out of Gaza. They'd have to lay down their arms. International aid and reconstruction would also begin immediately or stepped up, including infrastructure, hospitals, roads, which have to be rebuilt. So much destruction in Gaza, as we've seen over the many, many months of this war. And a transitional Palestinian governance body called the Board of Peace would actually be led by President Trump and include former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, as well as others. The president said that Board of Peace would oversee post-war Gaza's redevelopment and economic stability. Now, Netanyahu said he endorsed this White House plan, but he warned Hamas about the consequences if they don't agree.
If accepted by Hamas, this proposal calls for the release of all remaining hostages immediately, but in no case more than 72 hours. And it means the immediate end to the war itself, not just Gaza. It's the war itself. Under the plan, Arab and Muslim countries have committed, and in writing in many cases, but I actually would take their word for it. The people I mentioned, I'd take their word for it, to demilitarize Gaza, and that's quickly. Decommission the military capabilities of Hamas and all other terror organizations.
But if Hamas rejects your plan, Mr. President, or if they supposedly accept it and then basically do everything to counter it, then Israel will finish the job by itself. This can be done the easy way, or it can be done the hard way.
So some threatening words there from Netanyahu. Hamas saying at this point it wasn't consulted on this plan before it was released, but is reportedly looking at the plan in good faith. The Palestinian Authority, meanwhile, said they welcome this announcement. Several far-right Israeli lawmakers in the coalition government said, though, they don't support Netanyahu accepting this plan. Controversial for them. So joining us now with some more perspective from Israel is David Sussman from Efrat right now, 20 minutes outside Jerusalem. He's the host of Land of the Bible as well. David, thanks for being here this morning. So how has this plan been received in Israel, would you say? And what pressures is Netanyahu facing from the public and also his many political rivals?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me on. I think most Israelis are approaching this very cautiously. This isn't the first time that a ceasefire has been worked out with Hamas, and since they, seized power in Gaza through a bloody coup against the Palestinian Authority, where they killed literally hundreds of opponents of theirs by throwing them off the roofs of buildings, they have broken every ceasefire that they have made with Israel, including on October 7th. We were in the midst of a ceasefire with them, and they broke it on October 7th. So I think most Israelis are approaching it cautiously. First of all, is Hamas going to keep their word? They've never done it before. If you look at their charter calls for the utter destruction of Israel. So it's kind of hard to trust them. But let's say they agree to these terms. Somehow, President Trump mentioned how there was 20,000 Hamas fighters that were killed. Many of their leaders have been eliminated. And maybe whoever now is, steering the ship in Gaza, maybe they have empathy for the first time and care about the citizens and the people of Gaza and want to put an end to this war. And they're willing to lay down their arms and disarm themselves, have nothing to do with a political future in Gaza. Maybe some of them will leave. The international body that's going to be there, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, possibly Turkey. These are all Middle Eastern or Muslim countries that seem to be on board with this peace treaty. But when you look at Qatar, you look at their funding of the Muslim Brotherhood, you look at Al Jazeera and the way that they have framed Israel in a negative way, it's very hard to trust those places as well. Now, that being said, I think a lot of people also are very excited about the possibility of the war ending, the hostages coming home, husbands and sons, daughters, loved ones coming back from war. And hopefully, I think most Israeli, we always dream of a brighter future, and we're always willing to give it a shot.
David, when you brought up the hostages, it's really staggering to think that it's been 2 years. I mean, it's almost, we're a week away basically from it being 2 years. Do we know today the status of those 47 hostages that were taken back on October 7th?
Yeah, it is absolutely heartbreaking. A lot of people here in Israel wear a piece of tape on their shirt with the amount of days that these poor souls have been, in the worst conditions possible as hostages of Hamas. It breaks all of our hearts. As far as their conditions, I think the information coming out is extremely limited. There's been reports as few as 8 hostages remain alive, as many as 28 remain alive. We'll see. The videos that have come out that Hamas has used in their propaganda, their conditions look terrible. If we look at the conditions of the hostages who have been released, when they were released, their conditions were very, very difficult to stomach. They need a lot of rehabilitation, a lot of medical work being done to them. And we just pray and we hope that when they come back, that they'll be able to heal physically, mentally, and spiritually.
David Sussman reporting for us from Israel itself with reaction to this proposed peace plan. And we know a part of the sort of machinations, Allison, involved Netanyahu actually speaking with the leadership in Qatar to apologize for the attack that they carried out to try to take out Hamas leadership. I know that was a sticking point, and that apology was apparently issued ahead of the announcement of this proposed plan. So significant.
So we'll see if the momentum carries on. All right.